My name is Sharon Sananda Kumara, and I've actually had two NDEs, one at the age of 9 and another in 2001. At the age of 9, I was being horribly by a distant family member, not an immediate, but a distant family member who would come and visit the house. My sister and I lived with our grandparents at the time because our parents were divorced and they were going through a lot of things in their lives. I was out in our grape orchard looking for rocks. I used to hunt agates when I was a kid. And so I was looking for rocks in a grape orchard behind the house. And he found me there, and I was trying to get away from him. So at that point, when he hit me underneath my ribs, I felt this intense pain, and I immediately shot out of my head, out of my body. And at that moment, I felt this huge peace because I was out of my body. I didn't feel the pain anymore. And so I'm floating there in this space. I didn't understand it because it was darkness, but it wasn't dark like we understand dark. People would describe it as the void. I could still be me, and I'm floating in this space, but I was a part of everything. Anything that was ever or could be, I was a part of that. And it's difficult to describe because I felt so comforted and so supported and didn't lack for anything. So I floated there for a little while in this space. I can't say time wise, but it could have been a minute. It could have been a year. I don't know. But in my memory of it, it didn't seem very long. And then I was met by a being who I recognized as Jesus. And he comes to me, and I'm not floating anymore. I'm on some type of a solid ground. I don't see anything around me. I just know that I'm perched or floating on something solid. I'm just there with him, and he's kneeling down in front of me. I recognized him as Jesus, and he tells me, "You've suffered enough, my child." He called me my child. You don't have to go back. You can come with me. And at that point, I told him, but I'm not finished what I need to do. I had this awareness that I had a job to do, and I knew that I needed to go back into this dense reality in order to finish that job, finish my mission, finish what I came here to do. However, at that age, when I went to the higher planes and was met by him, I did have a consciousness of what my mission was. I intuited to him telepathically and said to him, but I don't want to have to start over. And he said, "Are you sure?" I said, "Yes." So I ended up immediately was back in my body, and I don't have memory of what happened after that, although I do know that the abuse that was happening stopped. This person stopped coming around. Things got in the way of us being together, alone together. And then I went through my life, and in 2001, I lived in San Antonio, Texas, and the first was in Oregon. I was going inner tubing down the Guadalupe River in New Braunfels, Texas, with some girlfriends for a girlfriend's birthday. And we had a really good time. It was the end of the day, and we were all ready to get back on the shuttle bus because we used an outfitter to take us to the river and pick us back up to take us back to our cars. The bus that picked us up was one of those little school buses that holds about 13, I think. I think it's 13, around 15 or something like that. And the bus was pulling a trailer that carried our inner tubes and our ice chests. There was 5 or 6 of us, and I was the first one to get on the bus, and I saw the seats were full. I started to turn around to get off, and they were saying, "No, come on, you can stand in the aisle, the people in the back." So I got back on and went to the back of the bus, and my friends came on. And then as the driver is driving down the road and he's switching gears, it's a manual, I was up against the back door, the emergency door. And as he's driving down the road and he switches gears, the door pops open and I fall out of the back door. I land on my back on the trailer hitch. I bounce off of that and then bounce onto the pavement. It was in the 90s. It was pretty hot. And I bounced again onto my side. And I yelled and screamed in my head, "Stop, you're killing me." And at that point, one of the wheels of the trailer ran over my head. And that's when I popped out of my body through my head again. And I knew once more that I had died. And I was looking at what was happening. I was floating above my body. I could see that my body was in the road. And I could see these cars coming, and the bus with the trailer is still moving. So he doesn't know that I'd fallen out yet. My friends told me later they were screaming at him to stop, and he finally did stop. And I feel this peace. I don't feel any pain or anything like that. And I'm thinking also that we had such a good day, and it would be a really bad thing. It would ruin my friend's day that here I go and die on them. I didn't have an attachment to my body or to what was going on there. I was watching it like watching a movie. And I was thinking about the people I was leaving behind. I was thought about my boyfriend at the time. I thought, oh, he'll be sad for a while, but he'll get over it. He'll be fine. I was thinking about my sister at the time, and I was thinking she has her family. She'll be sad for a while, but she'll be fine. And then I thought about my mom, who was still there. My stepfather had passed 3 years earlier, who I really missed. And as soon as I thought about my mom, I felt a presence behind me. Then I turned around, and it was my stepdad. And he's telling me telepathically that I need to go back, that I can't stay. And I didn't want to go back. This time I didn't want to go back. And so when he's communicating with me, I see this portal open up. It's light, but it's not super bright. And I see these beings that are in the portal. It's difficult to explain, but it's not like seeing, but I sense them and I see them at the same time. That on one side is my maternal family and ancestors. On the other side is my paternal family and ancestors. And I recognize some that are more in the front that I knew here in this life, like my grandparents. But I knew the others that were there, but I didn't recognize them here. And their face, they were kind of deadpan, and I got the feeling that they weren't there to welcome me home. And then before I was able to move further down the tunnel, I see this big, bright light portal like the sun, beautiful golden white sunlight. It's a portal, but it didn't hurt my eyes. It was just so bright. And I see a being walking out of this portal. As he gets closer, I recognized him as Jesus again. And this time I flew to him because I really, really missed him, even though I didn't have that tangible or conscious connection with him. I knew that he was there still with me every step of the way in my life. And it wasn't an easy life, but he was there with me. I knew that. And he's intuiting to me and helping me understand that I need to go back, that I've come so far, that my job is not done, my mission is not done, what I've set out to do is not finished yet. And this was in 2001. And I told him I didn't want to, that I wanted to stay with him. So it was quite different. And he's laughing. What I remember so much, his presence was like a balm to me. And as he's holding me, I can feel this merging of our energies. I'm a part of him, and I'm also separate, if that makes any sense. I realize that I am Sharon. I still have that awareness, but I'm also a part of him. I feel his intense compassion and love for me. And anything that I may have been worried about or, felt bad about or anything like that is totally gone. And the only thing that I can think of is being at one with his love, his light. It's all that exists. And so as we're communicating, he asked me if I'd like to go on a journey with him. And of course, yes. And so he takes my hand, or he puts his hand out, and I take his hand, for me to take his hand, and I put my hand in his, and immediately we are moving through the cosmos. Now, when I was with him earlier, I didn't notice anything around us. We're moving through the cosmos. I feel like we're moving because things are, the stars are going past us so quickly, and there's darkness and stars. And so I know that we're moving through the cosmos, or it's moving through us, hard to describe. Then we stop and we're floating above a planet that I recognize as a water planet. I immediately recognize this planet as a planet that I have an expression on, I live on in another frequency as a water being. I have a Mer family there, and this is happiest in my expressions. And so as we're floating there, I have the intuition and memory and remembrance that I can move my focus to being the actual planet, to be in the awareness of the planet that holds everything on the planet. And I felt so much immense love for all the beings on the planet, so much love and compassion for every being on my body as the planet. And then I can move my focus back down to where I can be aware of any of the beings on the planet. And so we move down onto the planet, and I become aware of myself as a mer being there, and my family, and I'm moving down, and we're moving down into the water, and we start swimming in the water. It was just so cleansing, and felt just so cleansing and healing for me, for my heart, for my soul. After, being on this dense reality in 3D, it was definitely an immense gift that he gave me to bring back with me. And so I was reunited with my parents there, with my family. I have children, I have a mate, and we communed in that space. And I do not remember what happened after that. I have not brought that memory back yet because I wanted to be there so badly. But I know that I came back to my body. I was in the road, and I jump up from my body and run to the side of the road. And I don't know how long I was out. I couldn't have been too long because my friends were off the bus and they were helping me. Hey, trying to get me up. And I jump up and I run to the side of the road. I was protected. My body was protected. So I did go through a lot of rehabilitation. I didn't know, mainly just muscle damage and nerve damage and ligament damage, that type of thing. My hair fell out for a while. They joked with me that I had tire tracks across my head, which I did, but certain parts of my head, and I had a lot of road rash, but nothing was broken or anything like that. And so I was protected. I do have to maintain my back and because I did have a back injury and a head injury for a while, but not a concussion. And so afterwards, what I've learned the most, and I started working with him, with Jesus, with Yeshua, who I called Yeshua, intensely. Afterwards, it took me a little while to remember my experiences, but there's still more memory of it coming to me. What I've learned the most from him and what he taught me first was that God is love. We are God in expressing God, and that we are love. That is what we are, love. And we come here to express that and to remember that. And that's our main goal.